Hi there, I'm Sumit Bansal, and in today's video, I'm going to show you how to use the sequence function in Excel. Now, sequence is a relatively new function that's available in Excel 2021, Excel 2024, and Excel with Microsoft 365. Now, on its own, this function does one simple thing, which is to give you a sequence of numbers. But when you combine it with other functions, that is when magic happens. So in this video, I'm going to tell you everything about the sequence function and then show you a lot of examples where you can use it with other Excel functions to do some awesome things. So let's get started. So let me first start with the sequence function and then I will explain how to use it with other functions. So the sequence function takes 4 arguments, but if I just give it one single value, let's say I give it 10 and hit enter, it is going to give me a sequence of numbers. And these numbers, it would always start with 1 and it would always increment with 1. So you can see it is 1, then 2 and then 3, and it gives me these 10 numbers. Now, if I've just given it one single value, it would always give me these numbers in one column. But if you want it in different columns, which means you want all these numbers in one row, you can, instead of specifying the first argument, you can put the number in the second argument. The first argument is rows. If I just put the first argument, it gives me these numbers in different rows. But if I do not specify the rows argument and put the number in columns, it is going to give me these numbers in different columns. See what happens? It gives me 1, 2, 3 in different columns. If I want both rows and columns, then I can just put 10, 10 here, which means I am asking for 10 rows and 10 columns filled with these numbers that starts with 1 and increments by 1. So now when I hit enter, it gives me this entire grid where I have these 10 numbers, and then it gives me 10 rows where each row has these 10 numbers. Now notice that it is going to fill it in such a way that the increment is happening across the row. So here, in the horizontal direction, this is happening. If you do not want it this way, if you want the increment to happen down the column, so 1, 2 and 3 in the column, then you can use the transpose function. So I can use transpose, and it is going to give me the result where the increment is happening down the column. So let me press Ctrl Z. Now let me show you the remaining 2 arguments of the sequence function. The first one is rows, the second one is columns. The third argument is the start value. Now if I just put 10 here, you'll notice that it always starts with 1, but you can specify what value should it start with. So in this case, let's say I leave the column value empty and I say I want this to start from 5. Then it is going to start from 5 and then increment by 1. So I now get 5 to 14, which are in total 10 values. So you can choose the start value. The start value could be anything. It could be a negative number. It could be a decimal as well. So in this case, if I make this -5, then it will start with -5 and then increment by 1. Let me go back and change this to 5. Then you can also specify the difference between these two values, which is called the step value. So in this case, if I do not specify anything, the step value would always be 1. But if I change this, let's say I make it 2 and I hit enter, now you can see that the difference between each value is 2. So 2 is the step value. So after 5, there is 7, then 9 and 11. And that's it. That is all that the sequence function does. It will give you a sequence of numbers. You can choose to fill the rows or columns or both. And then you can choose what is going to be the start value and what is going to be the step value. Now, the start value and the step value and any of these values can actually be negative or even decimals. Now, as you might have realized, on its own, sequence function is not really helpful. Yeah, sequence of numbers is useful in some situations, but not very useful. So let's see a couple of examples where sequence function can be combined with other functions and do some amazing things. So let's start with a simple example. What I want here is a sequence of 30 days starting from today. So I'm recording this video on 26th May and I want 30 days starting from today. So what I can do in this case is use the sequence function, and because I want 30 days, the row number value is going to be 30. So it is going to fill 30 cells in this column. I would leave the column's value as blank and then I would specify the start day as today's date. So I can use the today function and that's it. Now when I hit enter, it gives me 30 days starting from today, which is May 26th when I'm recording the video. If you want to start from any other specific day, for example, if you want to start from 1st June, you can specify that here. You can use the date function to construct the date and put it here. Now, in this case, what if I do not want every day? What if I want alternate days? In that case, you can change the step number. So you can come here and you can make this 2. So when I specify the step number as 2, it is going to give me every alternate day. So 26, 28, 30. If you want it to give you every third day, then you can change this to 3, and it is going to give you days which has a difference of 3 days. Now, if I want to, let's say, instead of getting every alternate day, I want every day to be repeated twice or thrice. So I want Monday date to be there 3 times, and then Tuesday is repeated 3 times, and then Wednesday is repeated 3 times. So in that case, I'm going to change the step value, and let's say if I want to repeat it 3 times, I would make it 1 by 3. And now when I hit enter, it gives me the date, and you can see every day is repeated 3 times. And the reason for this is because behind the curtains in Excel, dates are actually numbers. So when I say that my step number should be 1 by 3, only a whole day is considered, only an integer is considered as a whole day. So in this case, let me show you what is happening. If I select this and I change the formatting to general, you'll see that in the backend, these are actually numbers. So this is actually the day, which is today. Then this is also today, but the decimal portion is something that represents the time. And because I'm formatting it in such a way that I'm only showing the day, the date, it is not showing me the hour or the minutes part, then it ignores the decimal part, but it's still there in the cell. So this is a cool way to show dates that are repeating. But in case you want it to be consistent, in case you want it to remain 45803 only, what you can do is come here and you can put this in the round down function. So round down, then first argument is my sequence function, and then comma 0. So it gives you this value, and then you can change these numbers to long date format or short date format or custom date format, whatever you want. But you can see that now I have days that repeat. So this is a cool example. In this case, I want all the dates that are on working days, which means that I want dates that are on Monday to Friday, but I do not want dates that are on Saturday and Sunday. So in this case, I'm going to use a formula which is Workday International formula. Now what this formula does is it gives you the date of the specified workday. So if I specify today and then I say give me the workday after 3 days, it is going to give you the date after 3 days, which is going to be a workday. So in this case, let's put the start date as today. And today is May 26th when I'm recording the video. And let's say I want the next working day. So I would put 1 here, and let's just keep it simple. Let's just hit enter. It gives me 27th May, which means that today is 26th, and I asked for a date which is 1 day after today, which is a working day. So it gave me Tuesday, which is a working day, and which is 1 day after today. But what I want in this case is not really one date. I want 30 days that are working days. So what I'm going to do is come here and I would use the sequence function and put sequence and then 30 in this case. So what this does is it gives me a list of 30 numbers, 1, 2, 3, and so on. And now when this is fed into the Workday International, even the Workday International function would return 30 dates. And you can specify what is the weekend in your case. If you don't specify anything, by default it takes Saturday and Sunday. So I can specify 1 here, but you can also choose if other days are weekend days. For example, if your weekend day is only Sunday, then you can choose this value, and there is this entire drop down. So in this case, let me stick with Saturday and Sunday as the weekends. And now when I hit enter, it gives me all these days where you can see it has given me days till Friday, but then there is no Saturday, Sunday. Then it again starts from Monday, goes to Friday, and then Saturday, Sunday are not there. So if you are creating a project schedule and you only want working days, which are dates that are working days, then you can use this. Now, this does not include holidays. So what if I have a list of holidays and I want to exclude those holidays as well? You can actually do that as well. So in this case, I will use, so I have these holidays here in column E. I would use the Workday International function. The start day, let's say, is today. And let's say I want to include today as well. So I would just subtract 1 from it. So it also includes today's date. Then I need to give it the number of days I want. So let's put sequence function and 30. So it is going to give me 30 working days, and then weekend is going to be Saturday and Sunday. So this would be 1. And then there is also this argument of holidays where I can specify these dates that are holidays. So what it's going to do is it is going to remove weekends from the working dates and holidays from the working dates. See what happens when I hit enter, it gives me these numbers and you can check. So for example, in this case, it says July 4th is a Friday and it's a holiday. So you can see July 4th is not included in the list. Despite the fact that it is not a weekend, it is also excluded. So if you want to exclude weekends and holidays and get a list of working days, 30, 60, 90 days, then you can use this sequence function trick. Now let's look a slightly more advanced use case of the previous example. So in this case, I want to get all the dates that are on Tuesdays and Thursdays only. So I do not want any other date, only Tuesdays and Thursdays, and in total there should be 30 dates. Now again, I can do that using the Workday international formula along with the sequence function. So in this function, I would first specify today, and let me subtract 1 to include today's date as well. Then I would specify the number of days. Now because I want 30 days, I would use sequence and then 30 within sequence. And this is where it gets interesting. Within a weekend, instead of choosing it from this drop down, you can actually manually specify the days that are working days. So if I just put 7 digits here, 7 ones, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, this means that these are all non-working days. So 1 represents a non-working day and 0 represents a working day. Because I want Tuesdays and Thursdays, I would change the second value to 0. So Tuesdays become working and Thursdays become working when I make this 0. So now if I use this here and hit enter, it is going to only give me dates that are Tuesdays and Thursdays. And because I put 30 within the sequence function, it has now given me 30 days that are only Tuesdays and Thursdays. So you can choose which days are working and which days are not working using this technique. So in this example, I want to get time slots that are 30 minutes apart. Let's say I want to start at 8 a.m. and I want 20 or 30 time slots that are in the gap of 30 minutes. So to do that, again, I can use the sequence function. And here, because let's say I want, sequence function. Now here, because I want 30 slots, I'm going to use 30 here, which means that it is going to fill 30 cells. Now I'm going to leave the column argument blank, or you can use 1, which means that it is going to give the results only in one single column. Now here is the interesting part. In the start value, you would put the time of the starting value. So in this case, let me use the time function. And let's say I want to start at 8 a.m. So I would put 8 here, 800, which means that this time is now going to convert into a decimal value that represents 8 a.m. And I want the step value, the difference between these time values, to be 30 minutes. So again, I would use the time function. And here I would keep the hour value as 0, then 30 and then 0, which means that the step value should be 30 minutes. And that's it. Now when I hit enter, it gives me this. Now obviously this is not in the time format because, as I mentioned, dates and times are stored as decimal numbers and numeric values in the backend. So in this case, I would select this entire column and I can change the format to time. And you can see now I have 8 a.m., 8:30, 9, 9:30 and so on. So if you're creating a schedule, maybe you're taking a class and you want to have these schedules for students and their classes, then you can quickly use this trick to get these time differences and create these slots. So here I have this data set and I want to extract every third record here. Now there are multiple ways to do this and I'm going to use the filter function to do this. So if I use the filter function, it asks me for the array, which is going to be this. And then I need to specify the include condition, include argument, which needs to be an array of trues and falses. So if it is a true, it would be extracted. If it is not a true, it would not be extracted. So I'm going to construct this include argument using the sequence function. So let me actually do that here, and then we will feed it into the filter formula. So I would use the sequence function, and within the sequence function, I need a sequence of numbers that is equivalent to the size of this array. So I'm going to use the rows function and then feed this array into the rows function. So the rows function is going to give me the total number of rows in this data set. And because I'm using the sequence function, it is going to give me a sequence of these numbers. Now I want to extract every third row. So I want this value, then this value, then this value. So what I'm going to do is use the mod function. And here, this is my number, the sequence result. And then the divisor in this case is 3 because I want to extract every third record. So when I hit enter, it gives me 1, 2 and then 0, then 1, 2 and then 0. So now I can convert it into trues and false by just equating this to 0. So if it is a 0, which means if it is a third record, it becomes true. And if it is not a third record, it becomes false. And this is what is my include argument for the filter function. So I can come here and I can use filter. This is my array. And then this is my argument, and that's it. Now when I hit enter, it gives me every third record. So it gives me this record, then this one and this one. So this is working. If you want to extract every second record or every fourth record, then you can come here and you can change the divisor value in the mod function. So if I change this to 2, you can see it gets me every second record. So this could be useful if you're getting your data from some other place and the data is not clean and you need to extract every second, third or fourth record, then you can use this technique. So in this example, I have this data and I want to get the sum of top 3 sales values here in this cell. And to do that, first I would need to extract the top 3 values and then I can use a simple sum function. Now, if I ask you to extract the first or the second or the third largest value, you would probably think of the large function, and that is exactly what we are going to use. So if I use the large function, it asks me for the array, which is going to be these numbers, and then it asks me what position large number do you want? Do you want the largest number, the second largest, the third largest? In this case, I want the top 3 values. So I'm going to use the sequence function. And then here I can say I want 3 values. So this is going to give me a list of 3 numbers. And then large function is then going to return all the top 3 values. So in this case, if I hit enter, it gives me these 3. Because I already have 3 value here, I can make it dynamic by instead referring to this cell, which is E2. So now it gives me 3. If I change this to 5, it gives me 5 values. Now I just need to add these values, so I can use the sum function and wrap the large function within the sum function, and that's it. You get your result. This is the sum of top 3 values. If I change this to 5, this gives me the sum of top 5 values. Here is another cool example where we can do something because of the sequence function. So in this case, I have these team names and I want these team names to repeat 5 times. So I want this to repeat in the same sequence. So team A to E, then repeat it again 5 times or 10 times or whatever number of times. So to do that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to first use the sequence function, and I first need to know how many total number of items or team names are here in this case. So let's do a count A function and select this. So when I do that, it is going to give me 5 because it counts the total number of items that are in these cells that are non-blank. And because I want to repeat them 5 times, I'm going to multiply this by 5, which means that it counts this and multiplies this by 5. So it is going to in total give me 25 values. That is going to be the result of the sequence function. Now, if I just use this and hit enter, it gives me these numbers, which is 1 to 25. Now, I want to repeat it after every 5th item, which means that I want this to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Then again, it becomes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and so on. So I don't want it to be 6, 7, 8 and 9. So I can use the mod function. And here, this becomes my number. So I would select this entire array. And then the divisor in this case would be 5. But the problem in this case is you can see it is 1, 2, 3, 4, but then it becomes 0. And I want this to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So in this case, what I can do is in sequence, I can say instead of starting from 1, let me start from 0. So I would make the start value as 0, which is the third argument. And when I do that, it becomes 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and it starts from 0 and then goes up till the last value. But if you look at the result of the mod function, it is now 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then it restarts from 0. So this is like close to what I want, but I don't want it to start from 0. I want it to start from 1. So it would become 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and so on. So I would come here and I would just add 1 to this mod function. And now this is exactly what I want. So I have this here. Let me use this sequence function, feed it to this mod argument so that I can get rid of this. Now this is where I have what I want. I can just come here and I can use the index function where this is my array and then these are the row numbers. So now when I hit enter, you can see it gives me team A, B, C, D, E, and then it repeats again and then it repeats again for 5 times. If you want to repeat it any other number of times, you can change this. So let me copy this entire mod function and put it in the index function. Now I can get rid of this. So this is my formula that is using the sequence function that repeats this any given number of times. If I want to repeat it, let's say 10 times, I can just come here and change this to 10. And now it would repeat 10 times. And finally, here I have this example where I have constructed this entire calendar using one single formula that also uses the sequence function. Now, I'm not going to create this entire function, this entire formula in front of you right now, because that will make the video very long. But let me explain what this formula does. So this is the formula that I have, and you can see this is dynamic. So if I change the month to, let's say, July or June, this happens, and if I change it to July, this happens. So this calendar automatically updates. Now, this is the formula that I've used. So I've used the let function. Now let function doesn't do anything except making this formula more readable, so it is more easy to understand. Now the first thing I've done is I have taken this variable month first day and assigned this value, which is the first day of the chosen month, which in this case would be 1st May 2025. Then I have this variable start day shift. What this does is it tells me how many days I need to shift my calendar, because not every month is going to start from Monday. For example, in May 2025, it starts from Thursday. So I need to know how many of these cells I need to leave blank. So I need to shift this from Monday to Thursday, which means that I need to shift it by 4. So what this does is weekday function. It takes the first day of the month and it tells me what is that first day, what day is it. So this is going to give me Thursday, which is going to give me 4. So weekday is going to return 4 in this case based on the value. If it is a Monday, it would return 1. If it is a Friday, it would return 5, and so on. Now I need to know what is the date that I should put in the first value, the Monday here. And this is because even though it is not in the chosen month, I still need to put the formula in this cell. So this is where I have this variable start date calendar, where I take the first day of the month and I subtract the start day shift, which means that I subtract, in this example, it would be 4 days because it is a Thursday. And then I add 1, which essentially means that take the first day of this chosen month, then subtract the number of days that we need to leave empty. And because I've added 1 because it is 4, but I need to leave 3 days empty. So it is always going to be plus 1 in this formula. And then finally, I just create the sequence. I just create this entire grid by using the sequence function. So it has to be 6 rows, 7 columns, and then it starts from this date, which is the variable, this variable, and it increments by 1, and this creates our entire calendar. So it is a fairly simple formula, and if you thinking that this is a bit complex for you, you can download the example file. I'll have the link in the description and you can go through this formula. But this is actually a very simple example of using this formula to create a calendar. Now, one more thing I've done here is I have made these cells that do not have this month's, the chosen month's date, as blank. And it is actually not blank. There is value there, but I've hidden them. And the way I've done it is by using conditional formatting. So I selected all this, then went to conditional formatting. And here I already have the rule applied. So let me show you what that rule is, which is if the value in the cell, if the month value of that cell is not equal to the one chosen in this cell, which is B1, which means that if the month value of the date is not May in this case, then apply the formatting. And the formatting in this case is very interesting. It is custom number formatting, where I've applied these 3 semicolons. So whenever you apply a semicolon, it is going to make the value in the cell invisible, which means that the value is still there, but you cannot see it. So the dates are actually here, but you'll not be able to see it. So this is how I've made this calendar using this entire formula that is made possible because of the sequence function. That's it in this video. I hope you found this useful. Also, if you're liking these videos, please subscribe to this YouTube channel and click on the bell icon so that you never miss out on any new Excel tips video I come up with. Thank you and have a nice day.